All right, we're back, and we're going to talk about the Edmonton Eskimos, of course. Their loss to the Montreal Alouettes now dropped to 1-4. However, there are a lot of talk within the Eskimos camp, and I'm sure fans alike, that are disappointed with the way the CFL refs handled the final 2 minutes or so. Now, Montreal was stuffed on a drive. They had to go by booth to have a review. So, but they did manage to punt. They got a field goal instead. Now they're up by 5. So you had Edmonton driving down the field, which they did successfully, up to about the 1 yard line when they tried to punch it in, but it didn't work out. Now, they were thinking that there was going to be another booth review. That didn't happen. Clock expired. They were panicking. They tried to get one play off, and they were very unsuccessful. But now, here's the problem. Should the CFL take responsibility, and the referees, that they should have had a booth review? Because under 3 minutes, especially at the end of the half and the end of the game, it's the CFL's job to make sure if a player is over a goal line or not, or if there's any little controversy, or to avoid controversy. But you also had the Edmonton Eskimos who looked shell-shocked, were looking for something. When they didn't get it, all of a sudden we're in a panic and barely got a play off. Who's to blame here, the Eskimos or the CFL referees?
Oh, a little bit of mix of both. I think the CFL referees, they should have had a booth review on that. At the same time, the Eskimos looked rattled. They didn't look prepared. You usually send a few plays into that quarterback, especially in the last minute of play, 4 or 5 plays in different situations in the field. They had it inside the 5. Looked like it was in, it wasn't in. Then all of a sudden, they have to snap the ball off. They're not prepared, and they do the old Riders offensive scheme of a shotgun and hand the ball off to your running back. Of course, he was tackled at the 3 or 4, and game's over. So.
You know, nearly 40 years ago, I worked for the Stampeders as a ball boy on the field, on the sidelines. And one of the biggest problems in the CFL is that you have a bunch of imports. They all speak different languages from different rules. They're speaking the American game, and they've got the American set of rules indoctrinated. They've grown up from Pop Warner football. You've got coaches that have more American experience than they have Canadian experience. You got a complex Canadian game with complex rules that are being added and subtracted all the time. Nobody's speaking the same languages on the sidelines in those crucial settings. You're 5 games into the season. We're not all speaking the same language yet.
Then it's the Eskimos to blame.
I think so.
It's Reed and the
and
coaching
I think,
staff to blame.
But I saw this even back then, that you had guys that, you know, they were thinking fair catches and all sorts of things, and not correlating it to where they were. They're in the Canadian game, very different set of rules. The clock works differently, and the rules are much different.
All right, so you guys are saying it's a bit of both. You're saying the Eskimos.
I think Eskimos.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to move on to more CFL. This one's probably a brighter note, especially if you're maybe going to be a new Ottawa Redblacks fan.
Redblacks, like what name is that?
Next season, it should be great. I don't care about the name so much as
you
you would about
Rough
this
Riders.
player. Hey, you know what? If you could have this player's jersey, if you're in Ottawa, you would be thrilled. Bo Levi Mitchell, 376 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he looked like a very, very good quarterback. One in the making, perhaps a new superstar. You may scoff when I say that, Greg, but to be honest, you look at his numbers and what he's done. Has he the potential to be that superstar in the making and possibly be that pick for the Ottawa Redblacks?
One game. It's one game. Let's kind of tone it down. Don't use that term superstar after
I said
one game.
in the making. I didn't say the superstar. I put in the making afterwards.
Okay, let's see. Bo Levi put up some great numbers, broke some of Dave Dickinson's records in the conference. Yeah, exactly. So he knows him very well from his college days. But he played against Winnipeg. He played against Winnipeg. A Boy Scout troop from Saskatchewan could beat Winnipeg.
Hey, I will say this. He's got tests coming up because, of course, he's got Saskatchewan next, BC, and then Toronto. Pretty good defenses.
Yeah.
That's if he stays in as quarterback, if Kevin Glenn is still hurt as well as Drew Tate.
I think we have to strap Moses to a lie detector and make sure he's not an agent. And not, I think he's on the payroll for Bo Levi.
You know what? If I was, I probably wouldn't be working at UCAP.
I think you're an agent here for Bo Levi. However, what we did see is some tremendous footwork, great field generalship.
Yes.
He was under control, and you can see that he has been bred to be a quarterback. And he put the ball in great places where it couldn't be intercepted, they couldn't close gaps, and he picked the right receivers at the right time.
Okay, here's another question for you guys. Because the Calgary Stampeders might have an interesting dilemma come the season's over because they only have one quarterback to protect for the dispersal draft, which Ottawa gets to pick at least one player. Like I said, Bo Levi could be the next Ottawa quarterback, or maybe it could be Drew Tate. If you are Calgary and you could only pick one guy to hold on to, Kevin Glenn is getting up there in age, so I don't consider him in this whole mind frame, this set. But you have Drew Tate and you have Bo Levi Mitchell. If you're the Stampeders moving forward and you're seeing the progress that Mitchell is making, who do you keep safe for the dispersal draft?
Well, I don't know how much longer Drew Tate's out for, but we got to find out if he's glass or silly putty, because if he is going to be a broken machine, then I don't protect him.
Yeah, you know what, and it's starting to look like Calgary may have a Brock Pierce on their hands too. So if you look at what Pierce has done in Winnipeg, and he has got hurt time and time again, maybe that's going to be the same problem that they're going to have in Calgary. But at the same time, we're talking August, and we're talking about the progress of Bo Levi. It's one game. We'll see how he is and see if he gets more games under his belt. And all of a sudden, if he's playing like this in October and he's playing like this in the playoffs, then it's a no-brainer.
And people used to wait for Damon Allen and Darren Flutie and Doug Flutie and these guys to get hurt because of the way they played. They put everything into every play. They didn't have the propensity for getting injured that we've seen already in the young career.
They can withstand the injuries. And I think
so
that's what comes down to a quarterback.
Protecting yourself at the
All
right
right, guys. You guys have done pretty good in terms of protection, but now you guys are going to have to face off here coming up with over-under. So when we come back, we'll see which one will be on top and which one will be crying home after the show.